All right. How you doing, folks? Ron Raymond here from the Raymond Report, along with Chip Chirimbus and Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com for a Football Friday, December 4th. Folks, hope you're having yourself a good start to your day. As always, don't forget, if you do enjoy these videos and these shows, we much appreciate if you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And this way, every time we go on air, you get notified. And hopefully we can bring you some winners. Speaking of winners, let's bring on our guests right now, Chip and Ross. How you doing, fellas?
Good morning, Ron. Well.
Chip, welcome. Like I know yesterday you came on, and now it's the happy hour on Friday. And this is our Football Friday edition. Today we're going to talk about NFL. And we know you're no stranger to NFL, right?
No, I'm raring to go, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and Ross Benjamin, he's always ready on a Football Friday. And you know what? Let's talk about a bit of our selections here for the coming weekend. Now, normally we put up our plays on either it's different, right? This year because of the COVID situation. Sometimes, when you got a strong play, you post it up a little bit earlier. But sometimes people want to wait for the latest line moves or injuries report. But Chip, what do you have going this weekend? Normally you have about 3 to 5 NFL plays, and I'm sure you're right along that line.
Yeah, on Saturday I would have 5, other than the fact that the virus has knocked out so many different matchups. And to tell you the truth, the board doesn't look as alluring this week as it has in the past. So I'm pretty much committed to posting 3 games on Saturday, and on Sunday, usually I give a Fab 5. I give my top 5 NFL plays, and it's been working out pretty well for me so far. And I'm really happy with the way the games are flowing, and you have to make adjustments, I guess, with this virus. And I know Ross has done it, and I've done it. We've lost a number of games that we really liked the side to and would have used. But, it's the way it is right now. And we just have to make adjustments to what we have.
Yeah. And Ross, man, those 10-star plays for you this season have been on a roll. And normally now, you give out 3 to 4 college football selections and 3 to 5 NFL. What do you got going this weekend?
It's pretty much status quo, Ron, what you just said. So, yeah, I mean, again, I agree with Chip. We discussed this off air, the 3 of us too, that this college football board on Saturday specifically really lacks any pizzazz, for lack of a better phrase. There's not that matchup that you really look forward to. I mean, Wisconsin and Indiana, I would have looked forward to that if Penix was playing for Indiana, the quarterback, but that's not the case. In the NFL, I haven't decided. I got 5 games in each college football in the NFL, probably going to reduce it to 3 or 4 in college football, and quite possibly between 3 and 5 in the NFL. So, yes.
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of the NFL this weekend, Week 13, a couple of curveballs thrown at us there with the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game on a Wednesday, and then some of the games got bumped to Monday night. And looking at the lines this week, I don't recall a week where we've seen so many double-digit favorites on a weekend slate here. Maybe you guys have, I don't know, but we're getting at that point of year now where you're seeing the contenders and pretenders in the NFL, and I guess we're going to start seeing more of these double-digit favorites showing up every week. There's 5 of them this week, and did a little bit of research. Any double-digit favorites of 10 or more this season, the under is 1-7 for 87.5%. We have 6 games that have a line of 3.5 or lower. Home favorites of 3.5 this season or lower. 17, 26, and 1 for 39%. And that will affect the Chicago-Detroit game this weekend. Detroit looks a little sexy, and we'll probably talk to that throughout the show. And then we have 4 games where we have a line of -4 to 9.5. And when you have a line this year of 7.5 to 9.5 for the favorites, the over 21-14 for 60%. So a little bit of like Ross calls them, the ticklers, the Raymond ticklers to start off the show. But what do you guys think of those double-digit favorites this weekend? We'll start with you, Chip.
Well, I usually try to avoid them, to tell you the truth. Regardless, it's the mismatches are tough to handicap, because from our position, if we give out a big favorite, I don't know. Taking the dog in this situation is and you get crushed. You look like a fool, and yet we have to make selections a lot of times on these games because our options are limited, and I like more competitive games than I like double-digit favorites.
And Ross, me and you talk a lot on our show about that uncomfortable feeling when we're doing our selections, right? I see a lot of uncomfortable picks maybe this weekend with all these double-digit favorites.
Yeah, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 of them on Sunday. Look, here's the thing. We're into week 13 of the NFL season, and you're seeing a lot of disparities in records when teams face each other. And this is common practice, it seems like, when we get late in the year in the NFL, these situations arise. Although 4 on a Sunday board is quite a bit. I mean, you look at the 4 favorites, Miami -12 against Cincinnati. That would not be a double-digit favorite for Miami if Joe Burrow was playing. Then you got Minnesota at -10.5 against a Jacksonville team that's 1-10. You got Seattle -10.5 against the Giants. I mean, you could probably make a case for the Giants, other than the fact that we got to keep in mind Daniel Jones is out. So if Daniel Jones is their starting quarterback on Sunday, that's not a double-digit number either. And then Kansas City and Denver. Kansas City is going to be a double-digit favorite on most occasions at home against teams with a losing record. So nothing shocks me in that regard. Ron, I know I discussed this with you. I always, and I have discussed it over the course of the season with Chipper. I'm more inclined to look for a double-digit underdog when they're playing at home, because NFL ATS betting history will show you that just off, without asking a query of anything else than how an NFL home underdog at 10 or more does, it's a winning proposition. But all 4 of these double-digit underdogs are on the road this week.
Yeah, you're onto something there, because if you look at the favorites on the season, they're only hitting at 43.8% overall, compared to 53.9 for the underdogs. And and the betting public's always, the mindset is always that first, like the bookmaker's doing you a favor by telling you who's going to win the game straight up by putting the favorites, right? And the public tends to like agree and look at that, and then their mind is they plant that seed to the public. But then then you got to really get into the numbers, and this is what we do for a living, and we know as much as the easy part is taking a favorite. Taking a double-digit favorite, like we look at it, it's like it'd be hard pressed to do. It's like taking a baseball pick over 150. That's and if I do a baseball selection of 150 or more, I really got to love that play. And I'll only do it like probably once or twice a year. And I have the same mindset in the NFL. College football, a little different, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, I agree, Ron. I agree. If anything, I'm looking to use the double-digit underdog, because I do not like laying double digits in the NFL.
All right. Hey, you know what? We got a good slate of games we're going to talk about this weekend. We got Indy, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, Cleveland, Tennessee, Giants, Seattle, Rams, Arizona, and we're going to finish it off with New England against the Chargers. And let's kick it off right now with the Colts taking on the Houston Texans. A little AFC South Division rivalry here. We got the Colts, a 3.5-point road favorite. The over-under set at 50.5. Now, again, you have to bear with us with the odds. If sometimes the numbers will be a little bit off, maybe by a hook or so. But again, looking at this matchup, the computer pick here is going with the Colts, who are coming off I don't know if I can say embarrassing, maybe 25-26 to the Titans last week, a team where they beat them on a Thursday night a few weeks ago. Going into this matchup, Phillip Rivers toes a bit. I don't know if it's turf toe he's got, but he's limited this week in practice. Colts are 3-2 in their last 5 games straight up and against the spread. A couple of high-scoring games here for the Colts. 4-1 in their last 5 to the over. Where the Houston Texans, really tough schedule this year. And Deshaun Watson, to me, he's one of the up-and-coming good quarterbacks in the league that's coming along. To me, he's just lacking some weapons, and you take away one of his top weapons at the beginning of the year in Hopkins. I think they're going to be in tough this weekend. What do you think, Chip?
This game has a lot of intriguing numbers surrounding it, trends and things along those lines. Indianapolis has gone 6-0-1 7-0-1 in their last 8 trips to Houston. And, Houston's defense has just been absolutely horrid the entire year. They're 30th overall, allowing 410 yards a game. They're 31st in takeaways. They just don't seem to be able to hit anyone hard enough to make them fumble. And they're averaging 84 yards a game on the ground, which is last in the NFL. It all seems to come toward toward the Colts here. And we know how the Colts got pushed around last week by Tennessee. I mean, they went from having the number 1 defense to number 5 defense. They dropped that fast because of the yardage they gave up, particularly on the ground is disturbing, Ron, because, you can control the tempo, control the game if you're controlling the ball on the ground. The dog in the series is 7-3-1. And, last year these two met. Houston was a 3.5-point favorite. They won by 3. So 20-17, I believe the final was. So all the indicators and everything says that you're supposed to be on Indianapolis. I don't buy it. I'm really not happy with what I saw last week in Houston after that Thanksgiving Day win. Maybe they're coming on a lot stronger and they're garnering themselves. They lost their coach. They absolutely horrid job that he had done, O'Brien. And, they just seem to be playing better now without question. I don't know if beating Detroit means all that much. But this is a tough spot, I think, in spite of all those numbers, that Houston may be the side here at home.
Yeah, you know what? It's like I said at the top of the show, when the bookmakers puts out that favorite on the team, you're sort of like planting a seed on where you should be leaning. But Ross, I don't know. How do you feel about this game here with the Colts?
I'll be real blunt. I think Indianapolis is the sucker play of the week. That's how I see it. Yeah, I mean, look, the game opened at 3.5. It's down to 3. This in spite of the fact that Houston just found out this week they lost their top deep threat in Will Fuller, who's out for the year now via drug suspension. And, again, you look at the disparity of records here, 7-4 against 4-7. But here's the thing. Houston has won 3 of their last 4 games. Their only loss in that span was at Cleveland by a narrow 10-7 margin, and that was in a torrential downpour and terrible weather conditions, as you know, Ron. And then, you look at, Ron mentioned their early schedule. They started out 1-6. Their only win in that sequence in their first 7 games was against 1-10 Jacksonville. But look at some of the opponents they faced: Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Green Bay. That's a brutal schedule. So it's not like they're not battle tested. I think Deshaun Watson makes enough plays in this game. Their defense is definitely a worry. But, I think Houston makes this more competitive than Indianapolis fans would care to wish for.
No, you make a great point. And that strength of schedule, it really, like you said, they're battle tested. And looking at the quarterback matchup here this weekend, you got Phillip Rivers against Deshaun Watson. It's just, I'm trying to figure out where, from an offensive point of view, what kind of game plan is Houston going to have when you got, one of your best deep threats gone from the game? This is where I'm just trying to figure out how this game is going to be won on Sunday. Special teams maybe make some good field position plays, so that way you don't start with a long field. But the Colts, it's just, to me, okay, now they're coming off a loss, and let's take a look at their record coming off a loss the last 3 years when they're on the road, 5-5-1. But I can see where you guys saying that this is a sucker play on on Indianapolis. And it's when I started handicapping at the beginning of the week, my first instinct was I was looking at Indianapolis, but now when I look at some of the numbers and how teams have done home favorites and home underdogs in a low margin like this, it's something to chew on. It's a game I'm not going to touch. But you know what? I think you both are onto something on the right.
Yeah, I mean, Ron, it's a classic, my old cliche. Think like a bookmaker. I mean, look at that line. Look at the line movement. You lose your top receiver, and that line has come down. So, I mean, to me, that's. I'm not saying I'm going to use the game. I may, but it's a huge indicator to me.
What do you think of the total in this game? The total is at 50.5. And like Chip said, that Colts defense went from a 5th ranked defense to a 10th. man, they're slipping on defense. I don't know what. Maybe it's because of the teams they've been playing. And, Tennessee didn't help them in those two games, from a yardage percentage, right? When you got Derrick Henry and then you got the Packers. So I can see why they slipped defensively in the last three games. But, we're in December now, and teams are starting to get ready for the playoffs. And, the Indianapolis, are they, 7-4? Are they going to be there at the end when it comes to the playoff time? Chip?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And as far as the total is concerned, I'm not a big totals guy, but I think this game is supposed to stay under. I really do. And we'll see what happens. Of course, Houston lost their big firepower with their explosive receiver, and we'll see what happens. Deshaun Watson is throwing the ball all over the place, but like we said, they're only averaging 84 yards on the ground. So we'll see what happens here.
Ross, do you like Indy to make a playoff run here, or are they?
Yeah, I think they're still a playoff team, Ron, and I think what you just touched upon is sometimes we have, especially the general public, not us, but people tend to overreact what they saw the week before. Now, I do think they're a sucker play this week, but at the end of the day, this is still a good ball club. I mean, in terms of the over and under goes, you're looking at Indianapolis having gone over the total in 6 of their last 7 games.
Oh, wow.
And then the Houston Texans have been an overplay for much of the season, especially at home, but I don't have the numbers to back that. Let me see here. Houston actually at home.
1-4 to the under.
I got 2-2 to the over and unders on that.
Okay.
So 7-3-1 to the over on the season. So again, this is a Houston team. We know they can score. In Indianapolis in a little bit of a funk defensively off their last 2 games.
Here's a couple interesting notes here. Indianapolis 4-1 to the over when they're on the road. And in the last 10 head-to-head matchups between these two teams, 5-5 straight up, 3-6-1 favoring the Colts, but 70% to the under. So, folks, if you're thinking of, and it's a division game, right? And have they played already? Or is,
No,
normally
this is the first matchup of the season, actually.
Wow. Okay, so they got another date coming along, right?
I will say this with the total: the last 3 meetings in Houston have all gone under the total.
Okay. All right. So we got Kelvin Johnson wishing us a happy Football Friday, everyone. So Kelvin's one of our regulars here. We like to wish Kelvin a happy Football Friday. And again, folks, you're with Chip Trembus and Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com and atsstats.com. And Chip's got a new website now, chipswins.com, right, Chip? And
we launched it, had great success so far. I'm really pleased with it, and got a lot of help with it from Ross, to tell you the truth. And it's chipwins.com, and we post all of our games every day. And we're up there right now with a basketball play.
That's
I
awesome.
have a basketball play too. What do you got, Chip, going on tonight?
I have the winner between Wisconsin and Marquette. And those two rivals are going at it once again. They're both quality basketball teams. And it should be an interesting matchup with Wisconsin opening up a 3.5 point favorite. It's in that neighborhood right now. And of course, it may move before the end of the day.
And that's the
I have a 10-star top play, Ron, on that same game. And it's up at your website, atsstats.com. Also at rbwins.com. 53-31, my last 84 with my college basketball 10-star top plays.
That's awesome. And this is what, one thing with the ATS stats and rbwins.com and chipswins.com. Now, you guys, we do a lot of other sports, right? And that's the greatest thing to hear, is because I don't do college basketball. I follow it and I'll look at it through the March Madness and all that. But when it comes to, normally, if this was anything normal, I'd be probably handicapping NHL hockey and NBA right now. So it just
these Canadian guys, Chip, they don't do basketball,
Yeah. Hockey. Yeah, that thing you play with a stick and ice.
About hockey.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Let's get to the next game here. We got the Saints taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is an interesting matchup here between the Saints and the Falcons. Looking at last weekend, Atlanta, their signature win of the year, a 43-6 win over the Raiders. Raiders just a bad day at the office. That's all I can say about that. Where Denver played New Orleans last weekend, and we all know the Denver situation with they didn't have a quarterback, and they did the best they could with the situation they were handed. But now going into this one, you got another division rivalry here. You got the Saints going into Atlanta. Now the line I'm seeing is 3 and 44.5. The computer sees a 5-point game here, 30-25. Saints, you know what? I really thought at the beginning of the year they wouldn't be able to have the type of year they had last year. But man, to me, it's just Sean Payton is just Bill Parcells' protege is really, to me, he's moving up in my thought as one of the really, really good head coaches in the National Football. Not that he wasn't, but when you think great coaches, you think of Bill Walsh, right? You think of Belichick. Peyton right now, he's consistent and he's been there a long time, but he's got a lot of good tools to work it. This weekend, he's going to go to Atlanta, and the last time these two teams met, we got to go
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, 24-9 for the Saints. The line was -3 in that game also. Looking at this game, Ross, what's your early thoughts?
Well, again, it's going to be a big difference going against Atlanta with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, as opposed to who they faced last week in a fourth string quarterback, basically not even a quarterback, a wide receiver on a practice squad that had to play because of COVID-19. So going to be a little bit of a shock there in that regard, but you do have to give New Orleans credit for how improved they are defensively, and they're getting better as the year has gone on. As a matter of fact, over the last 4 games, they've allowed 13 points or fewer in each contest, and all 4 of those have gone under the total. And as high flying as the Atlanta offense has been, they've gone under the total in 4 of their last 5. And don't look now, but since Raheem Morris has taken over the defensive coordinator, former defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, they're 4-2 since he's taken over as head coach since Dan Quinn has been fired. And lo and behold, their defense has improved steadily along the way. So, this is a tough call for me. I would, the obvious choice would probably be New Orleans, considering 2 weeks ago they held this high-flying Atlanta offense to just, what'd they do here against New Orleans or against Atlanta? 248 yards. So that's a really good effort against a high-flying offense like Atlanta. So tough call for me, Ron.
Yeah, like Ross mentioned, Chip, Raheem Morris, he probably didn't come in there and did a lot of different things. He just tweaked maybe a bit of some of the practice schedules or, some of the systems. And like Ross says, this Atlanta team now looking a little bit better. Have you any thoughts on this game, Chip?
Sure. I have plenty of thoughts about this game. New Orleans has been so outstanding on the road. Ross may have their ATS stats on that, but I think it's somewhere along the lines they've covered 20.
Yeah, Chip, actually, I'm sorry to interject, but since you mentioned it, on the road they are 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 this year. They were 7-1 last year. They're 11-2 on the road since last year.
Wow.
Yep. Exactly. That my point is that they've played really well on the road. And you know what, Ross? You mentioned their defense. They've allowed 3, 13, 9, and 3 in their last 4 games, and that has promoted their defense to the number 1 yards per game, only allowing 285. They're second against the rushing, only allowing 76 yards a game. And usually when we think it as New Orleans or the same team, we're thinking about their prolific offense with Drew Brees. But they've done so much. They've done so well when Brees is out. And Bridgewater last year, I think, went 6-0 and 5-1 to the number, or 5-1 and 6-0 to the number, one or the other. And now they're coming with Hill this year, and he's posting wins left and right. So, it's sort of like when the same teams has adversity, they seem to garner together and play pretty tough. They're 5-1 in the last 6 meetings against Atlanta, and the under has gone 8-3 in the last 11 meetings in Atlanta. So, this Atlanta's playing tough under their new coaching regime. 9-3 is a dog in the last 12, and 3-4. They've won 3 of the last 4, and like Ross said, 4 of 6 since Raheem has taken over. I think it's a really tough call, and I think Atlanta at home may be primed to come up with a really good effort here. It's when coaches changes are made, I think it wakes the players up a little bit, and that may have helped this Falcon team.
Yeah,
Ron, if I could add one thought before you do your analysis. It goes hand. What Chip just said, he made some good points with New Orleans. With Bridgewater at the helm, and now with Taysom Hill at the helm, and how well they've done without Breeze. That's not to say they're a better team without Breeze. That would be ludicrous to say that. But it goes hand in hand to what you're saying about Sean Payton. You know what I mean? He's got that ability to adjust game plans and still wins, even though he doesn't have his best on the field. He's been missing Michael Thomas for much of the year. He's back now, but he missed a great part of the beginning of the season. So I agree with you, Ron. Chip makes some good points, and Sean Payton, his head coaching status to me has really risen this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what Chip was saying about that defense, look, this is against Tom Brady, and this is against Kyle Shanahan, one of the best up-and-coming young coaches in the league. So New Orleans, and look at, when was the last time, when you think of New Orleans and you think of a total, we're thinking 50 right off the bat, right? Like your mindset goes to 50, depending who they're playing. Look at this, 49, 49. 51 against Tampa Bay, 40 against the Bears. So a lot of low numbers. So it's, the thing is, when you think of the Falcons and Saints, you're thinking, like you said, Drew Brees and Matty Ice, and you're thinking a lot of points, but you don't expect, the last 10 overall games to be 70% to the under. But this is, like you say, Ross, all the time. You got to think like a bookmaker and using the psychology of the betting public, knowing that they see those highlight guys. They see Kamara. They see Breeze. They see Thomas. They see the weapons that both teams have. They're thinking offense. And New Orleans ranked number 5 now in offense, given 20.45 points a game. I do like New Orleans in this game. To me, the quarterback for New Orleans, Taysom Hill, this is like a Tebow 2.0 type thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just
a perfect analogy.
And how do you stop this machine when they're in 3rd and inches or 4th and inches? He's going to run quarterback power, and it's just being a linebacker. Even worse if you're a DB and you see this guy coming with a head of speed towards you. You're like, okay, you can have the yard, buddy. So no, this is going to be a really fun game to watch. And the one thing we won't have to worry about is the weather, because unless there's a cloud inside that dome, I think we'll be fine this weekend.
Yeah, New Orleans defense also, Chipper and Ron, they've forced 12 turnovers over their last 4 games. So that certainly helped their cause in keeping those opposing scores down and the yards down as well, and create short fields for your offense. Look, last week they scored 31 on Denver. They only had 292 yards of offense. So again, I like to look at that, Chipper and Ron. I don't know how you guys feel. I look at a game like last week against Denver, know who they faced, and they scored 31 points, but it's misleading. They only had 292 yards of offense. So I think this might be a danger spot for New Orleans. It's just my opinion.
And let's be honest, when we found out there's no quarterbacks for Denver, this is like practice for New Orleans. It's like going up against the scout team, because, and hate to say it, but I know it's the NFL, but going in, you don't have to worry about deep threats, and you can bring down your safeties and just outnumber them in the box, and challenge their receiver / quarterback to throw over it, right? So this was not a fair playing field for the Broncos last week, and the Saints just maybe they could have made it worse. Right?
Yeah, well, Bo Nix could have played quarterback last week for Denver, right? And they would have put up more yards and points than they did. So
Kelvin Johnson, one of our guys in the chat, says, "Let down for the Saints. Can ATL stay hot?" Yeah, that's, what? We'll see. We'll see this weekend. All right, let's go to the Tennessee Titans. Man, they're starting to look a lot like last year, a team that you probably don't want to face in the playoffs. But they've showed some cracks in the armor this year in a couple of games. Now, looking at this line, it's not 1.5. It's I'm seeing 5.5, and I think the total's at 52 or 53. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing. Last 5 games for Tennessee, 3-2 straight up and against the spread. The last 5 have gone over the total. 4-1 to the over in the last 5 games. For the Cleveland Browns, the much improved Cleveland Browns, you got to give them credit. You know what? After what they've gone through the last couple of years with just, I just think they had some really poor, I shouldn't use the word poor, but they weren't in the right direction from the coaching point of view. And it just, I think it created a bit of a click in the dressing room and in the players. And when you have doubt your coaches, it doesn't tend to be a good season because you're going to challenge every decision that's made. Now they're going in, on the season. They are 8-3 on the season for Cleveland Browns, having a really good year. Although 5-1 at home, 3-2 on the road, but they're 60% on the road. It's really tough to win in the NFL on the road, but they're up against an 8-3 team who's also 8-3. I just noticed with the Tennessee Titans, who are 4-2 at home. Man, from Tennessee's point of view, looking at that defense, that's the only weakness I see on this Tennessee team on the defense, ranked 20th, giving up 25.91 a game. But on the offense, 6th in the league. And Cleveland, a little surprised with an 8-3 record that they're only ranked 18th on offense. Going to you on this one, Chip. What's your early thoughts on this game?
Well, one of the reasons that Cleveland is ranked 18th, they have the 30th ranked passing game in the NFL and the number 1 overall rushing game at 161 yards, which is surprising. And second is Tennessee at 158 yards on the ground per game. This sort of tend to make you think that this game's going to go under the total, that you have the 2 top rushing teams going to go head to head and looking to control the ball. That Cleveland has just been an absolutely nightmare against the point spread. I think they're 18-40 as underdogs in their last 58 games. They're 3-9 off of a loss. The numbers for the Browns have not been impressive at all. And Tennessee now, they're in a spot where they're 8-3 and they're beginning to show their muscle. Only 2-5 as favorites and 3-7 against the number at home. So, my instincts here are that it looks like Tennessee is a come-get-me play, and Cleveland's Mayfield just hasn't done much at all. The 30th ranked passing game for the Browns. So I anticipate this game to be a low-scoring game.
Ross, you've had a good pulse on the Browns this year. You call them at the beginning of the year to make the playoffs. I'd be very interested to hear what you think on this game this weekend against Tennessee.
This is intriguing. Again, I think that, you're looking at a Tennessee team that captured a lot of attention last week with their decisive win at Indianapolis, a result that not so much that they won the game that was a surprise, but the manner in which they did so. They just absolutely dominated the Indianapolis Colts, especially their offense. I mean, that was a Colts defense that was highly rated going in, and they just torched them. Yep. Here's the thing. Chipper makes a good point, Ron, about the disparity in offensive statistics between their passing game and the running game. In a pass-happy NFL, Cleveland, 53.3% of their offensive plays this year have been runs, which is pretty much unheard of in modern-day NFL. And if you look at their 1-2 punch at running back, I'm not saying either are the best running back in football, but the combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, in my opinion, is the best 1-2 punch the NFL has to offer.
Yep.
Now, yeah, Derrick Henry is better than both of them, right? But the combination of those two, I think, is more effective than just the one Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry goes down, Tennessee, as we saw this year, is when they have to be one-dimensional and win the game with Tannehill with his arm, they've shown to be very ineffective. And my bet right now of Cleveland going over 8.5 regular season wins is looking pretty good at this point. So, and I did make that in the beginning of the year, Chipper, and I did write an article on that too. I just want to bring that to your attention because as opposed to someone else that we work with on occasion who likes to make regular season win total bets in the middle of the year, I do it before the season starts.
Never question your integrity, Ross.
No, I know that, but it was more of a joking manner. You know?
That's awesome. But you know what? A couple of things come to mind when you said that, Chip and Ross. This Cleveland Browns team right here, it seems they beat the beatables. When I look at their schedule, okay, they're beating the teams they should be beating: Jaguars, Eagles, Texans. Tough game against the Raiders, Bengals. Look what happened when they faced the Steelers and Ravens, right? Total different situation. And I don't know if I put Tennessee in that Texan Steeler department, or maybe I do with the Ravens. And I think Cleveland's going to have a really tough time this weekend. When you struggling against Jacksonville, and let's keep in mind Cleveland in their last 5 games, 4 games. 3 of their last 4 games have been at home. So they had a little bit of comfort of some home cooking, and then they struggled on the road. If they struggled at Jacksonville, what are they going to do when they go to Tennessee this weekend? So, like you said, Ross, the only thing, and you know what, something I wish my database would have records on teams in the that jump out to a quick lead, because I agree with you. I don't think Tennessee has the offense to play catch up with anybody. But from a bookmaker's point of view, now we got 2 teams that love to run the ball. They're thinking, okay, the public sees that, and the total in this game is 50.5, or I believe, let me see here. I think it's at 52.
53.5.
Yeah, 53.5. That's a pretty high total. That's a total I thought I'd see in the Saints and Falcons game maybe. But people are going to say, there's 2 running teams. They're going to run the clock. That's probably the mindset people are going to have. But maybe the over might go against contrarian thinking here, because the last 10 games between these 2 teams, and it goes back a few years here. We're going back to let me see, 2008 was the last 7. So the last time they met last year was 43-13 for the Titans, and I'm seeing a similar type score this weekend, 7-2-1 to the over. I know a lot of people are going to probably thinking under with all the the running, but this Tennessee team, they can score like 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, as we've seen. Real quickly with the run, because Derrick Henry, and I've seen it in wherever I coach, when a good running game and a good offensive line only gets better once if they have success, eventually they're going to break through. And then once a running back in the O-line, they figured it out, they're really hard to stop. So I think Tennessee and maybe the over is worth a look here this weekend.
Yeah, let me just play the devil's advocate here. Cleveland's running game, like Chip alluded to, isn't bad either, Ron. I mean, You're looking at a Cleveland running game that's exceeded 200 yards rushing in a game 1, 2, 3, 4 times this year. And it's not like rushing for 200 yards in college football, which is common practice, especially with these triple option teams. At a 200-plus rushing day in the NFL is enormous, and they've done it 4 times this year. And again, I think if Cleveland is going to stay in this game, and remember, Cleveland doesn't have to win the game outright either. But I think they have the capability of shortening this game with their running game, and in turn, staying competitive throughout because of it. But we'll see.
Yeah, and look at the defense the Titans have faced in the last 4 weeks: the Bears, the Colts twice, and the Ravens. So top 10 defenses the last 4 weeks. So they're battle tested in that area. We have some chat here from some of the guys. Nim says, will Myles Garrett be playing this weekend? That's a great question.
He's probable. Yes, I would be shocked if he doesn't. He's listed as probable.
Yeah, and this is a game where they're going to need him too. Barry Ratcliffe says -6, too much for the Titans, overreaction.
Yeah, I agree. I agree to a degree. I somewhat agree. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We can't all agree on everything, so I'm going to take Tennessee here because I don't want to be that show that just everybody hugs each other and just say, "Hey, kumbaya" at the end, right?
I have no problem not hugging.
Are you a hugger, Chip? You look like a hugger.
No, Chipper, he's like Switzerland. He's always neutral.
Is he?
Yeah.
All
Hello,
right.
Chip. You there?
I'm an equal opportunity hugger. What can I
All
tell you?
right. All right.
Opportunity. Hugger.
I know it's early on the West Coast. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. This thing called coffee in the morning really helps. Seattle taking on the New York G-Men, the Giants. Now going to this game, the Seahawks a 10.5-point home favorite. Over-under set at 47. Forecast going to go with the Seahawks here, 26-15. Now, let's be honest, the Giants are really good underdog play on the road this last couple of years. I'll get the record in a second. I'm sure Ross probably has it. They're on a 3-game win streak. When was the New York Giants on a 3-game win streak? I really, every week, I just fall in love with this Joe Judge guy, this head coach for the Giants. I think he is one of those guys who got in and at the beginning, needed a few weeks in the NFL to see exactly how things work. And when he made a statement to Golden Tate saying, "You're not coming to this game, and this is how we're going to run this team," I think the team just said, "You know what? I'm going to start riding this guy because I believe in this guy." And when you believe in your head coach, man, you'll go through a wall for that guy. And right now, I think the G-Men will go through a wall for Joe Judge right now. What do you think, Ross?
Let me defer to Chip since he's always reading the New York Post, and he's. I've discussed this team with him several times, and he's. And all kidding aside, he's got a very good pulse on the situation because he keeps up with the New York media.
Oh, that's right. Yes. What do you think, Chip?
Well, the Giants have been outrageous on the road. Like we said, I think they're 20-6 to the points in their last 26 times out. They're 6-0 as underdogs. But, the monkey wrench here is Jones and McCoy. I mean, Colt McCoy is going to be starting for the Giants. And I agree with what you guys said about Joe Judge. He jettisoned his offensive line coach, and it seemed that like everyone understood their job's in jeopardy too. And you got to come and play. And the Giants started really poorly. I think they were 1-7, and yet they were playing good football. I mean, they are now the beast of the least. They're leading the NFL East right now at 4-7. I don't know how long it's going to last. They've lost the last 4 times up against Seattle. Seattle's 5-0 at home. I really doubt the Giants are going to win this game, but I question as to whether Seattle's going to put enough effort to get over the line, over the point spread. Double digits, as you said earlier, that's a big number in the NFL. The Giant defense has been nothing to sneeze at. They played actually some pretty good football during the season. The thing is, the favorite is 6-1 in these last 7 meetings. And Ross, I think I said just about enough. Do you have an opinion on this one?
Well, yeah, I'm going to answer Ron's question or his suggestion. Yes, the Giants are very good as a road underdog, Chipper. You look at since 2018 as a road dog, they're 15-3 against the spread.
There you go.
You go back and then you use the parameter of 3.5 or greater. They're 13-1 against the spread. Now their straight up record isn't very good in those situations, but they've proven to be, for whatever reason, very competitive as a road underdog. Now, having said that, the adjustments been made in the line between Daniel Jones and Colt McCoy. This isn't a Denver situation. Colt McCoy has some starting experience in the NFL, and I think you could do a lot worse than him as a backup quarterback. However, they're going to lose something because Daniel Jones gives you that ability to move the chains with his legs when nobody's open. He gives you the ability to make plays on the run when a play breaks down. So you're not going to get as much from Colt McCoy in that regard. But it's not like they're playing an outstanding defense. And let's not forget, guys, I mean, here's the thing where I'm really impressed. We talked about Sean Payton, and Ron brought up some real good points, and so did you, Chipper, along those lines. But look at the Giants' running game.
Yeah.
Over the last 6 weeks. Let's not forget, they lost one of the top running backs in all the NFL in Saquon Barkley. In their first 5 games, they rushed for 89 yards or less in 4 of those 5 contests. Since that time, they've accounted for over 100 yards rushing in all 6 games. And a couple of those games, I mean, you're looking at 142 yards or more, 132 yards or more in 5 of those 6. So when you could run the football and their improved defense too. Ron, I think you have those statistics there. And Chip, you've mentioned this a couple times. You know, the Giants' biggest enigma last year in that terrible season was their defense couldn't stop anybody. It's not they're not a top 10 defense, but they're a competitive defense. I think they're middle of the pack, Ron. You might have
Giants,
that.
Yeah, the Giants are ranked 9th on defense, giving up 23
scoring defense. Correct. I think total yards are around 14th. So,
okay,
you know, again, I'm not saying take the Giants, guys, but I think what I'm trying to say is I'm jumping on the bandwagon with you guys with Joe Judge. I think he's done a terrific job. And, you know, during this 4-2 stretch, the only 2 losses, 22-21 at Philadelphia and 25-23 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not bad.
Yeah, and they still won both those games.
Yes. Very easily could be on a 6-game win streak.
And let's be honest, Seattle's defense, unfortunately, Daniel Jones not playing because that secondary, even though the Giants' strength is not throwing the ball, situational handicapping here, looking at the Seattle's schedule the last couple of weeks, coming off a Monday night game. And this year, home favorites coming off going on 5 days rest, 0-9 against the spread. Not a good situation here for the Seattle Seahawks facing the New York Giants this year. But let's be honest, with no fans, it's not as if the 12th man is not there this year to help the Seahawks because having a home crowd like Seattle, I don't know how much it really helps during a game. Maybe for like false starts and the crowd noise level, that could have a little bit of an effect. But look at the Giants. You know, Ross, we talk about all the time that uncomfortable pick.
Yeah.
This falls right into that category. And sometimes, Chip, what we talk about here is that sometimes you're going to make a pick that you really don't like when you look at it from in theory, but on paper in the numbers game, it's something you might want to consider. The New York Giants in the last 3 years on 6 days rest, 10-1 against the spread. And I saw this after a non-division game, 13-2 against the number and 17-5 on the road the last 3 years as a road team. So if you do like the Giants, and like Talisman here says, he goes, Giants have been a competitive, so taking the points all the way. And that's Talisman. And thank you for that, Talisman. And Gerondrick Joyner, what's up, Ron and guys? Happy Friday. Happy Friday to Gerondrick. And again, guys, don't forget, you can get all of our handicappers selections each and every day at atsstats.com. Or if sometimes if you want to visit our handicappers website, you can visit Ross at rbwins.com. And Chip Trimbus now has a website at chipwins.com. But you can get all their selections right here at atsstats.com.
All right, if I could add one thing into, and I think Chipper would be interested in this, the source that I use for where the money is going in this particular game, meaning the Giants, the Seahawks, 55% of the volume of bets have been made on Seattle and 88% of the money. So,
oh, wow.
The public seems to have, it's, not a enormous difference in the volume of bets, but certainly 88% of the money jumps out at me.
Wow. The LA Rams coming off a tough loss last weekend against San Francisco. Tough loss in the sense where I thought they were in a really bad scheduling spot off that Monday night win over Tampa Bay. And now they travel to Arizona, going to face an Arizona Cardinals team who's really struggling of late, 2-3 straight up. Could be really 1-4 if it wasn't for that Hail Mary, and 1-4 against the spread. The Rams, though, coming into this one as a 3-point favorite, the over-under at 47.5. The last time these two teams met was last year. It was a 31-24 win for the Rams. Now, the Rams, as I said, coming off that loss to the 49ers this past Sunday and the win the game before against the Bucs, taking on a Cardinals team where, Kyler Murray now battling a little bit of a shoulder injury, and it's really, I think, affecting his deep throws. But, man, I've never seen a quarterback that can juke you right out of a telephone booth. He's got some moves when in close distance. It's like a running back, actually. But like I said all the time, right, Ross? Let's hear it for those 5'10" quarterbacks, because that's what I was.
Yeah.
I was 5'10".
Yeah. I'm all for any guy 5'9", 5'10" that does well in any sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Chip joins that club as well. Hey, Chip was a heck of a shortstop, Ron.
Oh yeah, Chip played.
Oh yeah, he was a heck of a shortstop growing up.
Football.
Yeah, that's your first love, right, Chip? Baseball.
Yeah, I'd say it is for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're
He
still
played
waiting.
on he's being modest. He played on a national championship team as a youngster. So, Chip, tell him about it, man. People like hearing this stuff.
Well, it's baseball was always my love, and I played competitively, and with my neighbor Bobby Valentine, you may know who he was, and we had a pretty good basis. I think there were a lot of mature Italians in my neighborhood, Ross.
The big ragu would be right on board with that, Ron.
Yeah.
15, they had beards and they were shaven, but when moved on, and actually we played on 2 national championship teams, and I'm quite proud of that. And college baseball as well. But here we are now, just looking for a winner, and that's the way life brings it.
Hey, you know what? Now if people are watching this, they're probably getting excited for baseball season, because if that's your first love, then we look forward to those selections come baseball season. But back to this one between the Cards and the Rams.
Yeah.
You know what? I think the Rams are in a pretty good spot here this weekend. Road favorites on 6 days rest are 26-11. Now, Chip and Ross, we've talked about this a few times during the year. We got a line here that is fluctuating from -2.5, -2, -3. Is there any consideration we just take the straight up on this game? Like just like a baseball favorite of 150. I think the line is 148, 150 on the money line. Chip, would you consider taking the money line on this game or any game that's -3 or less?
I always consider it if it's under 3, and when it gets to like 1.5 or 2. I don't like laying $1.40 or more. But in baseball, like you had said before, Ron, if we want to lay $1.30, $1.35, we don't think anything of it. In football, it's a whole different animal. Yeah. But I think when you have those small favorites like that you can get value from it. I know it's really helped me out. This matchup, the first thing I was thinking about was, why were the Rams favored on the road? Everyone used to be so hot on this Arizona team, and I think what you said, Ron, is that Murray's shoulder has really hurt their offensive production. They've won 1 game of their last 4, and that was the Hail Mary win over Buffalo. And I'm sorry about that. I had a dramatic pause.
New York guys.
But the Rams.
He's relentless.
Number 2 in defense. They're number 6 in offense with 390 yards total for yards per game, and yet their 19 turnovers have really hurt them, and they're only allowing 19 points a game. But the turnover had really hurt this team. I mean, they had 5 against Miami in that game, and Ross. I mean, what did they outgain the Dolphins by? Almost 300 yards for the total game.
471 to 245 or somewhere in that area. 220.
Yeah, something silly.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
I'm wondering about this Arizona team, who everybody was so high on at the beginning of the year. Why they're an underdog at this point in the season at home in a conference game like this. It sort of raised an eyebrow for me, and I'm thinking that here are the Rams 11-5 against the number on the road, and they're 9-1 against an ATS loss. It looks to me like they're trying to get you or bring you in to take this Arizona home dog, and the Rams might be the side here, and maybe because they're only allowing 297 yards a game total yards.
Yeah, this is a completely different Rams team than last year. And then one thing we do know is that if the Rams go into halftime with a lead, McVay's 32-0 in that spot. So let's hope, if you like the Rams this weekend, that you got the lead at halftime, because you're looking pretty good after that. But Ross, what's your thoughts on this Cardinals team right now?
Yeah, let me start with your question about the money line. I agree with you guys. Now, think about this. A lot of times we're suggesting to clients and ourselves we're a proponent of buying off the hook on a key number. And when I say key numbers, and hook means a half a point for those of you not familiar with that term, but you buy off a 3.5, you buy off a 7.5. to get it down to 7, to get it down to 3 when you're betting on a favorite. Well, when you do that, the books are asking you to pay a premium price whenever you buy off the hook on a key number. And most times than not, you're going to be laying $1.30, $1.35. So why would you not hesitate when you get in I like to look at 2.5 or less, Ron, because most times than not, that falls in the 140 or less category. And Chipper's right. Stop and think about it. We won't hesitate to make a Major League Baseball money line play of 135 or less, yet we don't do so in the NFL. And I don't know why.
And we do it every day, like baseball's every day.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Now, as far as this game goes, the Rams have been very good off a loss this year. Their prior 3 losses, they've gone 3-0, 2-1 against the number. This is an Arizona team that's not only gone 1-3 in their last 4, but they failed to cover in their last 4. I will say this: they historically have been very good as a home underdog, but not so much in a division game. It's been more so in a non-division game. And this is a really tough call for me. The Rams coming off a loss, Arizona's reeling right now. And all of a sudden, as Yogi Berra would say, it's getting late early for Arizona because now you're looking after that 5-2 start, you're 6-5, and now you're bordering on falling out of playoff contention with a loss. So I'm going to stay away from this game, Ron, but you guys' points are all great.
Yeah, no, Arizona's in that same boat as some of these other teams trying to make the playoffs. I can think of the Raiders, that comes to mind, but there's some other teams that are in the same situation where a couple of weeks ago we were almost like putting them into the playoffs as a wild card team. Yeah. And now we're on, this is why we love sports so much, right? It's just that's why they play the games. We got a couple of things here, guys, from the audience. OGW and Ross, you know what? This is what this show is all about. When you explain to people, you said the hook, and you tell them that, it's a half a point. That's what this show is all about, is about people getting into sports betting who don't know a lot of the lingo. And I'm really happy that you said that, because a lot of people who don't know, right? So one guy goes, OG Double says, I need a dog. I thought Arizona was a good one. Now I'm thinking twice. And that's exactly what this show was meant to be when we first started the Rain Report. Ross and I said, if we make people think twice about what's going into the weekend, I think we've done our job. And I really want to thank OG Double for posting that, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring a case for the Rams and the Cardinals, and we want your input, because the more information we have and the more we talk about it, then the picture gets maybe a little bit clearer for some people. Now, Cristiano Gotti writes something here that I think we could probably do a whole show on. He goes, nothing surprises me in the NFL anymore. Games are fixed for a reason. Raiders nearly sweep KC, yet blown out of Atlanta. Case in point, anything can happen on a Sunday or Monday. Remember that. And if you don't believe the rest are paid off, you're clueless.
Yeah, then I'm clueless.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, again, all due respect, sir, I appreciate you viewing, and I appreciate you chiming in. And I've heard this numerous occasions over the years. This conspiracy theory thing, I don't have a lot of tolerance for. I'm not going to get into a deep discussion about it. We had this happen in the NBA with a referee years ago. But I mean, the cases that might occur, I'm not saying it's impossible not to occur, but they're very isolated and very rare. And Chip, do you have anything to add to that? Because I've had this discussion with you.
Well, it's sort of like one of my ex-partners who said, I'd really like to know how it's done if it was to be done.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
There's so much complications. And my first thought was that it would start at the top, and it would start at the coaching, and the players would probably have less to do with it than you might imagine. But it's like you said, Ross, just to throw that out there without any significance, without any proof. We have had incidents over the years, Alex Karras, Paul Hornung, some guys that were caught, then they were supposedly betting on their own team. And I'm sure Hornung was doing that without a doubt. But, it's a tough call to sit and say that they're doing this. Like you said, I think it'd be too convoluted, Ross. I think it'd be too difficult to pull off. And if it was to be anything. I don't know how. I don't know how it would get it done. Like I said, my ex-partner said he'd give up a finger to find out how they do it.
You know what? You know what the old saying is, Ron? I'm not paranoid, but they're all after me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, when say, for instance, and I agree, these are professional, the sports athletes, and even the refs are professionals. They don't want to be to have that mark on them. They're doing the best job they can in the moment, heat of the moment, when things are lightning quick. Sometimes you get into this, and I'm just going to look at the other side of the coin. And I'm not referring to this specific guy here on the Cristiano guy. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking in general. Anybody in general who's got a bad streak of luck. It's like, can you believe this is happening to me? And we've all been there, right? We've all been where you've had a bad luck, and you look for reasons to think why you're having those bad lucks, and you'll blame a lot of things on a lot of situations. But I agree with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his statement, and again, I don't want to discourage the gentleman from chiming in. You feel the way you do, and this is what this show is all about. We're certainly not condemning you. We're just opening your eyes to the fact that we've been doing this a long time. Between the three of us, who knows how many years of experience we have? I know it's probably close to 80 in this industry, and I don't think any of us believe for a second that occurs. But also the NFL, you just brought up some situations. The Raiders sweep Kansas City, but they get blown out against Atlanta. That's the NFL. That's NFL betting, right, guys?
Absolutely.
I mean, the unpredictability in the NFL far outweighs that in college football, which the predictability of straight up wins in college football is extremely high. And there's a reason for that. I mean, we're talking about double-digit favorites this week in the NFL. Well, it's week 13 and there's disparity of records. You have numerous double-digit favorites in college football every week. You just don't notice that in college football like you do in the NFL, because the parity in the NFL is far and away better than you'll see in college football any day of the week. So again, I think we've all experienced the fact that we know that every week's unpredictable in the NFL.
Yeah, TCGMD 2010 says on any given Sunday, and I'll finish and I'll finish it on this thought: the day UMass beats Clemson, I'm done.
The day the teams in college football that Chip could play for, win. Then
what's that saying you say, Chip? You don't bet on teams that you can play for.
Yeah, you never bet on a team you can play for.
All right. Let's talk about so the Talisman says, great advice, guy, but there's no worse feeling in sports betting when you let something talk you away from your play. Do your homework, make your play. Absolutely. Right. I agree with that. All right, let's talk about this matchup here. And I heard a good situation on this game, and I'll bring it to your attention in just a second. Going into this game, New England now a 1-point favorite. This was a pick 'em at some places. 47 is the total. Looking at the forecast, we got 28-21. The last 5 games for the Patriots. Now they're playing a little bit better football lately. 3-2 straight up and 3-2 against the number, 2-3 to the under. Where the bad luck Chargers, like just a baseball guy, the bad news Bears. If the bad news Bears were in football, it'd be the Chargers, right? These guys are just not having any luck or success in this season. 1-4 straight up, 0-5 against the number in the last 5 games, 4-1 to the over in their last 5. And looking at this game here this week now, New England, there they are, 5-6 on a coming off a win last weekend, 20-17. If you look at their last couple of games since that after the Bills game, they're 3-4. 3-1 after that game, so starting to put some wins together. But mind you, they've still got a long way to go if they want to make the playoffs. I don't even know if they probably got an outside long shot. But I heard a good one this weekend. If you take Bill Belichick and you put him on the Chargers, and you take Anthony Lynn, you put him on the Patriots, what's the line on this game?
Ask Chipper that. Because he is not a big fan of Anthony Lynn. Ask Chipper.
No way.
As a matter,
Christmas list.
as a matter of fact, Cam Newton, after passing for 69 yards against the Cardinals in a game they were very fortunate to win last week, said he doesn't apologize for winning. And Anthony Lynn says he doesn't apologize for clock mismanagement, which is a steadfast with him every week. And that's why this team is 3-8 straight up, is because as a head coach, Anthony Lynn doesn't cut it during game management time. He just like he's in a panic. He's a deer looking into the headlights. And they've blown so many opportunities before the half and before the final gun. And that's why they're 3-8. And I think coaching has a lot to do with it here.
Yeah, and I will say this. I mean, again, to go hand in hand to what Chipper's saying about the coaching, and Ron, you know this too. 7 of their 8 losses have been by 8 points or less, which in NFL terms is 1 possession. So you can't have that bad a record in 1 possession games and not point to coaching somewhere along the line. Yeah. And last week, his mismanagement of the clock at the end of that game, even though it wasn't a matter of a straight up win, but it did have a lot to do with a cover. I mean, the Chargers scored that late touchdown against Buffalo. They're covering, and that didn't occur. So,
yeah, I look at this game and I look at the Chargers' last 4 games. Man, they have a travel nightmare here. Raiders, East Coast, and then to the at home to the Raiders, East Coast against the Dolphins, at home to the Jets, East Coast against the Chargers of the Bills, and now they're at home against New England. From that situational handicapping point of view, I think that's a lot of traveling for the West Coast team in the last month. Now they got to go back at home, face a New England team where they're 2-8 straight up, 3-7 against the number in their last 10 overall games. This, to me, the head coaching, just the matchup, and you look at the quarterback matchup. Cam Newton's only got 4 touchdown passes all year.
That don't shock me.
But it's just, only 4 touchdown passes, NFL quarterback. And again, we talk about the system Josh McDaniel is trying to run with RPO type quarterback. It's very tough to do. And it's probably very easy to game plan against the New England Patriots offense. And the reason, you look at that game where Baltimore, they got lucky with the rain that night. So I don't know, this game here, Herbert, this could be a game where he says, you know what, if I need a marquee game to win that Rookie of the Year, I'll do it against Belichick's defense. And Belichick's really good against young quarterbacks like this. And that's one thing I forgot to mention about Goff in the other game against Arizona. Goff really struggles against good coordinators. But looking at this game here for Herbert, man, he's going up against one of the masters of the DC. And I think that's going to be a game within the game right there. How the adjustments are going to be made from Belichick to stop, because we saw what Belichick did to Mahomes, and he was able to contain him, and that's why he's the guru, right?
Yeah. Again, this is a game I'm going to use this week, and it's going to be one of my picks, and so I don't want to elaborate much further than that. But if I can for a second, the last question or last comment we got from the viewer on do your homework and don't let somebody talk you off the fence. Look, as far as the LA Rams and Arizona game goes, in my comments, I was just showing the pro and cons, sir. So just so you understand that, I'm all for what you just said. I'm not using that game, but at the end of the day, I believe what the other viewer said when he was having second thoughts is he overlooked some of the comments toward Arizona that I made. That's all. So again, we're not trying to talk you out of any games. We're just trying to make you the best informed sports bettor you possibly could be, Ron.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're all in charge of hitting that enter button when we play that bet, right? Exactly. That's we all do. Everybody should do the research. And we're here to bring information. If we can help you with your handicapping or tend to help you lean on a certain way, then we feel we've done our job here. And hey, and we're also running a business here. So if you need a Rain Report membership, why not go to atsstats.com? Yeah, no, you're right. It's it's sports betting. It's like my friend in Vegas, Greg Dempson used to say, when you go to Vegas, it doesn't say bank on the buildings. It says casinos, right? So it's not giving you money. You got to earn that money and do your homework. And it's getting tougher. Even I heard the bookmaker said it last week. It was Jay Cornegie talking about, like it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. The information now, everybody has it, where back in the day, you really had to go dig for it. But now with Twitter and Instagram and everything's just so instant, nothing's a secret anymore. Right, Chip?
Well, the internet has changed everything. It used to be where we thought we had information that no one else has. Now everyone has the same information. It's simply how you interpret it. Yeah. So I think we have a good handle on what's going on out there.
Well put, Chip. Well put.
Yeah, and we got 3 handicappers here who have a different perspective on how they handicap games. And if it works for you, then keep doing it. And for that gentleman who says, whatever you do, if it works for you, don't if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully, what you learned here today on the broadcast helps you guys with your handicapping. All right, guys, anything to add on this game here, or is this put a nail in the coffin here?
Chip, you haven't commented on the game. You may want to.
Well, I said that with Anthony Lynn coaching, I think that San Diego's in a bit trouble. I don't quite understand why New England came up a favorite on the road here. Even though San Diego's only 3-8, I mean, they have been very competitive against the points. We're aware of that. I was surprised New England was favored considering they're 1-7-1 after a win. So, I don't know, Ross, you seem to have a better feel for this game than I do right now. I got a little confused with what I've seen. I know that the coaching advantage goes to New England, and, plus the fact that even before Herbert and before Lynn, this Charger team is only 15-35 or 36-1 at home. They've only covered 15 of 51 home games in the last 10 years or whatever it is, last 6-7 years. So I'm very leery about this game at all. I don't think I'm going to be using it.
If you're going to look at betting trends or betting angles in this game, pay more attention to the straight up numbers, okay? Because this is virtually an even game. It's either a pick 'em or a -1 for New England. So if that's the type of homework you do, or you're looking for an indicator in that particular facet of your handicap, and pay attention more to the straight up numbers in this particular matchup than you do the ATS numbers. Like Chipper just alluded to, 15-36-1 against the spread in their last 52 at home. I would venture to say there was some pretty good Chargers teams in there that were home favorites on the majority of those occasions. So they're not being asked to cover a number here. They're being asked to win a game straight up. And the same applies in New England as well. 1-7-1 ATS after a win in their last 9. Well, I mean, again, how many times were they a favorite in that situation? They're only going to be required to win the game straight up.
Right.
Well, we just did a whole show, and you guys, I just realized I didn't do one screen share. I'm looking at I'm saying, where's the, I'm trying to go back to the screen where we're all there, and I'm saying, how come we're all here? Didn't I do a screen share? Typical Ron Raymond on a Friday, right? Yep. I apologize for that, folks. I know normally we put on the screen share, but, we thought you wanted to look at Al Michaels the rest of the show. I had to get that in there, eh? Finish off on a bang right there. All right, guys. Hey, you know what? Very good show today. I love the fact that we got 3 very good, 2 of myself and a good handicappers here. And hopefully the people who watched today's show, if you liked it, and you can see Rusty liked it. I guess that bone I gave him just finished. But before we go, Ross, tell the audience what you got going this weekend.
Well, I got a 10-star top play going in college basketball this evening. Marquette in Wisconsin, 54-32 with my last 86 in college basketball, 10-star top plays. I also, if you go to atsstats.com, you'll see a free pick on tonight's Louisiana Lafayette and Appalachian State game in college football. That's a free pick video. Just go to atsstats.com and click on that free picks button. 3-5 in college football, 3-4, in college football on Saturday, and 3-5 in the NFL meaning picks on Sunday. You could get those either at atsstats.com or rbwins.com.
Yeah. And Chip, what do you got going this weekend, buddy?
Well, of course, college basketball has finally arrived, and posted my first triple play, went 2-1. So I'm really excited about that. I expect 3 college basketball games on Saturday, as well as 3 college football games. And on Sunday, of course, I go to my Fab Five, a pack of 5 winners. And all at chipwins.com and all at a reasonable price. And also they will be posted right here on ats.com.
Awesome. All right, guys, before we go, Barry Radcliffe just wrote one quick question. Why is the Pittsburgh game moving down down to 6 so fast? So I didn't really notice that.
That's a good question. Coming off a big division win against Baltimore. Yeah. That line did open at 10, but that was based on that was an opening line before they even played Baltimore. So again, yes, that's a notable move, but
probably a COVID situation, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, Chipper, you have a thought on that?
Well, it's a tough matchup for the Redskins. I think they're 7-21, the last 28 on Monday Night Football. I'm kind of surprised and shocked right now. You're telling me this line dropped that much. So there's probably factors there we're not aware of as of yet. And I'm sure by the end of the day, we'll know why that number moved like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, fellas, good show today for a Football Friday. For Chip Trembus and Ross Benjamin, I'm Ron Raymond. This was the Raymond Report. NFL football for a Friday, Football Friday, December 4th. Folks, have yourself a great rest of your weekend. As always, shop for value, play those percentages. We'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.